I worked 2 jobs because one was never going to be sufficient. 6 days a week, I scrubbed floors in office buildings from 6 in the morning until noon, then rushed home to shower before my evening shift at Bolante started at 5. The Italian restaurant sat on a corner in Manhattan, where the rent alone probably exceeded my yearly income. But the tips were decent when businessmen came in for expense account dinners. I needed decent. I needed every dollar I could scrape together. 3 years. That's how long Derek Price had been part of my life. Part was the wrong word. Derek had consumed my life, swallowed it whole until I barely recognized the woman I'd been before him. Lily was only 7 when he moved into our cramped apartment in Queens, charming and attentive, bringing flowers and promising to help with bills. 6 months later, the flowers stopped. The promises turned into threats. The help became control. Thursday nights were usually slow at Bolante, giving me time to breathe between tables. I balanced 3 plates of pasta along my forearm, a skill I'd perfected over 2 years of working there, when the front door slammed open hard enough to rattle the wine glasses hanging above the bar. Derek stood in the entrance, rain dripping from his jacket onto the polished floor. His face was flushed, eyes bloodshot. I knew that look. He'd been drinking since afternoon, probably losing money at the poker game he pretended I didn't know about. Megan. My name came out slurred but loud. Several diners turned to look. Need to talk to you. Now. My hands trembled, nearly dropping the plates. I'm working. You need to leave. Don't tell me what to do. He weaved between tables, knocking into a chair. The elderly couple seated there pulled back, alarm clear on their faces. You owe me money. Took your paycheck to the bank this morning, account's empty. Where's the rest? Because I'd opened a separate account 3 months ago, one he didn't know about. Because I'd been slowly, carefully moving money away from his reach. Because somewhere deep inside, I still had enough self-preservation to plan an escape I was too terrified to execute. Derek, please. Not here. I set the plates down at the wrong table, apologizing to confused customers. My manager, Antonio, was already moving toward us, but Derek reached me first. His hand clamped around my upper arm, fingers digging into the bruise he'd left there 2 days ago. I gasped, tried to pull away. You're hiding money from me? His breath reeked of whiskey and cigarettes. After everything I've done for you? Roof over your head, food for that brat kid of yours? Let go. My voice came out smaller than I wanted. You're hurting me. I'm hurting you? He yanked me closer, and I stumbled into him. You're stealing from me, and I'm the bad guy. Antonio reached us, putting himself between Derek and me. Sir, you need to leave immediately, or I'm calling the police. Derek laughed, an ugly sound. This is between me and my girlfriend. Mind your business. It became my business when you assaulted my employee. Antonio's voice stayed calm, but his hand moved to his phone. Leave now, or I'm making the call. For a moment, I thought Derek would swing at him. His free hand curled into a fist, jaw clenched. Then someone else appeared, moving so quietly I hadn't noticed his approach. There's a problem here? The voice was cultured, controlled, carrying authority that made Derek's aggression look juvenile in comparison. I'd seen the man before, though never this close. He owned Bolante, or so I'd heard from the other servers, but he rarely showed up during regular hours. Tall, broad-shouldered, wearing a charcoal suit that probably cost more than my rent. Dark hair swept back from a face that could have been carved from marble, all sharp angles and defined features. His eyes were the most striking thing about him, a deep brown that seemed to see everything. Julian Verciani. I knew his name because Antonio said it with a certain reverence, because the kitchen staff straightened up whenever he walked through, because there was something about him that commanded respect, without demanding it. No problem. Derek's voice lost some of its confidence. Just talking to my girlfriend. Interesting. Julian's gaze moved to where Derek still gripped my arm, then slowly, deliberately, up to my face. Because from where I'm standing, it looks like assault. Look, I don't want any trouble. Derek released me, stepping back. Megan, we'll talk about this at home. Dread pooled in my stomach. Home. Where Lily was waiting, hopefully already asleep. Where Derek's anger would find its full expression without witnesses to restrain him. She's not going anywhere until her shift ends at 11. Julian's tone didn't change. but something in it made Derek go very still. And when she does leave, you won't be waiting for her. Do we understand each other? You can't tell me what to do with my own girlfriend. I can tell you what happens in my establishment. Julian moved closer, and despite being roughly the same height as Derek, he seemed to tower over him. You've caused a disturbance, assaulted an employee, and upset my guests. If you're still on this property in 30 seconds, I'll have you removed. If you come back, ever, you'll regret it. The threat was delivered so calmly, it took a moment to register. Derek's face flushed darker, but he looked around the restaurant, at Antonio, at the security guard who'd materialized near the door, at Julian's unwavering stare. This isn't over, Megan. He backed toward the exit. We're going to have a long conversation when you get home. Then he was gone, the door swinging shut behind him. The restaurant erupted in whispers. I stood frozen, my arm throbbing where Derek's fingers had dug in, trying to process what had just happened. Megan. Julian's voice was gentler now, concerned. Are you all right? I'm fine. The lie came automatically. I'm so sorry. I'll get back to work. I'll make sure the tables he disturbed get complimentary desserts. I'll pay for it myself if you'll do no such thing. He gestured to Antonio. Cover her tables for the rest of the night. Megan, come with me. Panic flared. No, please. I need this job. I can't afford to lose this job. You're not being fired. His hand hovered near my elbow, not touching, offering guidance without force. I'm getting ice for your arm and making sure you're actually all right. 2 minutes. Then you can decide if you want to finish your shift or go home. Home. The word sounded like a threat rather than a comfort. I followed him through the kitchen, past cooks who carefully didn't look at us, into a small office at the back. He pulled a first aid kit from a cabinet, extracted an ice pack, cracked it to activate the cold. May I? He gestured to my arm. I nodded, rolling up my sleeve. The bruise was already darkening, Derek's fingerprints clearly visible against my skin. Julian's jaw tightened, but he said nothing, just gently pressed the ice pack against the injury. How long? He asked quietly. I don't know what you mean. How long has he been hurting you? I wanted to lie, to maintain the fiction that Derek was just having a bad day, that this was an isolated incident, that I had everything under control. But sitting in that small office with a stranger who just defended me, showing more concern than anyone had in 3 years, the truth spilled out. 2.5 years. It wasn't always like this. At first, he was different. They always are. He pulled over a chair, sat down so we were at eye level. Do you have somewhere safe to go? Family? Friends? I shook my head. My mom died when I was 23. No siblings. Derek made sure I lost touch with my friends. Said they were bad influences, that they didn't understand our relationship. I laughed bitterly. Guess he was right about that last part. And your daughter? How old is she? 10, Lily. She's at home right now. Fresh worry struck me. I need to call her. Make sure she's okay. Use my phone. He handed me a cell phone, sleek and expensive. My hands shook as I dialed our landline. It rang 6 times before Lily answered, her voice small and scared. Mom? Hey, baby. Are you okay? Is Derek there? No, he left like 2 hours ago. Mom, I heard him yelling earlier. Is he mad at you again? Again. The word cut through me. My 10-year-old daughter shouldn't have to ask that question with such familiarity. Everything's fine, sweetheart. I just wanted to check on you. Did you eat dinner? Made a sandwich. When are you coming home? Not for a few more hours. Make sure the door is locked, okay? And if Derek comes back and he's angry, you go to your room and stay there. Promise me. I promise. Love you, Mom. Love you too, baby. I ended the call, handed the phone back to Julian. He'd heard every word, I knew, but he didn't comment on it. Take the night off, he said. I'll have someone drive you home. I can't. I need the money from tonight's shift. You'll be paid for the full shift. He stood, moved to his desk, pulled out a business card. This has my personal number. If you need help, if things escalate, call me. Anytime, day or night. I stared at the card, at the embossed numbers. at the offer of help from a man I didn't know. Why would you do that? You don't know me. Something flickered across his face, too quick to identify. Let's just say I have personal reasons for not tolerating men like Derek Price. Take the card, Megan. You might not need it, but you might. Better to have it. I slipped the card into my pocket, knowing I'd probably never use it. People like Julian Versiani didn't actually get involved in the messy lives of people like me. This was charity, guilt, the fleeting concern of someone who could afford to care for 5 minutes before moving on to more important matters. Thank you, I said, for everything. I should get back to work. Antonio's already covered your tables. Go home to your daughter. But Megan? He waited until I looked at him. If Derek is there when you arrive, don't go in. Call the police. Or call me. I nodded, not trusting my voice, and left through the back entrance. The subway ride home took 45 minutes. Plenty of time to replay the humiliation of the evening, to imagine what waited for me. Derek would be furious. He'd see my early arrival as proof of betrayal, as me choosing my job over him, as deserving of punishment. But when I quietly unlocked the apartment door at 8:30, the living room was empty. Derek's jacket was gone from its usual spot. His keys weren't on the counter. Mom? Lily emerged from her bedroom, and I pulled her into a tight hug. I'm home early. Surprise. She pulled back, studying my face with eyes too old for 10. Did Derek do something bad at your work? Don't worry about it, baby. Everything's fine. Another lie. But what else could I say? That her mother was trapped in a nightmare she was too afraid to escape. That I stayed because I didn't know where else to go, didn't know how to survive on my own with a child to support. That night, I lay awake listening for Derek's return, Julian Versiani's business card tucked under my pillow like a talisman against the darkness. I didn't believe he'd actually help if I called. But for the first time in years, someone had offered, someone had seen, and maybe that was the beginning of something. Derek didn't come home that Thursday night, or the next morning. By Friday afternoon, I'd convinced myself that maybe he'd actually listened, that Julian's warning had sunk in, that we might have a chance at peace. I was scrubbing bathroom tiles at the office building where I worked mornings when my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. Hello? Megan Collins? A woman's voice, professional and clipped. This is Stephanie from Queens Elementary. Your daughter Lily didn't show up for school today. We've been trying to reach you since 9 this morning. Ice flooded my veins. What? No, I dropped her off myself at 8:15. I watched her walk through the front doors. I'm looking at our attendance records right now. Lily was marked absent in homeroom, and none of her teachers have seen her. My hands shook so badly I nearly dropped the phone. I'm coming there right now. I didn't ask permission from my supervisor, just grabbed my jacket and ran. The subway took forever, every stop an eternity. I kept calling Lily's emergency cell phone, the cheap prepaid one I'd given her for safety. It went straight to voicemail every time. By the time I reached the school, it was nearly 2 o'clock. The principal met me in her office, concern etched into her features. Mrs. Collins, we've already contacted the police. They're sending an officer to take a statement. I'm not Mrs. Collins. And where is my daughter? My voice came out too loud, bordering on hysterical. You're telling me she's been missing for 5 hours, and you're just now calling the police. Our protocol is to contact parents first. When we couldn't reach you until 1:30, we escalated to the authorities. She folded her hands on her desk. Can you think of anywhere Lily might have gone? Friends she might be with? Lily didn't have friends. We moved around too much. Derek's paranoia keeping us isolated. She'd been at this school for less than a year. No, she wouldn't just leave. Something's wrong. The police officer who arrived 20 minutes later was young, bored-looking, clearly viewing this as another case of a kid playing hooky. He took notes with minimal interest as I explained that Lily had been upset lately, that we had problems at home, that her stepfather was volatile. Stepfather? He looked up from his notepad. Is he the biological father? No, we're not married. He's just my boyfriend. The words tasted like ash. But he's been angry with me. He came to my work yesterday and caused a scene. You think he might have taken her? The thought hadn't fully formed until that moment. But once spoken, it solidified into terrible certainty. Yes. Yes. I think he did. Do you have joint custody? There's no custody arrangement. We all live together. But he has no legal rights to her. The officer's demeanor shifted slightly, more attentive now. What's the boyfriend's name and address? I gave him everything I knew, including Derek's phone number, which went to voicemail when the officer tried calling. By the time I left the school at 4 o'clock, an Amber Alert had been issued. Lily's school photo would be on news stations by evening. I couldn't go back to the apartment. What if Derek came back with Lily? What if he was already there, waiting? I walked aimlessly through Queens, calling Lily's phone repeatedly, each ring without answer driving the panic deeper. At 7 o'clock, with November darkness settled over the city and cold rain starting to fall, my phone rang. Lily's number. Baby? Lily, where are you? Heavy breathing on the other end. Then her voice, small and terrified. Mommy? I'm here, sweetheart. Where are you? Are you okay? I'm sorry. She was crying. I'm so sorry. I didn't know what to do. It's okay. You're not in trouble. Just tell me where you are. I'm at the restaurant. The one where you work. Belante. Her voice broke. Can you come get me? Please? I'm coming right now. Stay there, okay? Stay inside where it's safe. Mom, Derek hurt you again, didn't he? After you came home the other night, I heard him. He came back late and I heard him breaking things. Guilt crashed over me. I thought she'd been asleep. I thought I'd protected her from seeing the aftermath. The shattered plates Derek had thrown at the wall, the bruises he'd left on my ribs that I'd carefully hidden. We can talk about it later. Just stay where you are. I'm coming. The subway to Manhattan took 35 minutes. I counted every second. By the time I reached Belante at 8:40, the dinner rush was in full swing. Through the front windows, I could see elegant diners at their tables, servers moving with practiced grace. And there, standing just inside the door, looking lost and soaked through, was my daughter. I burst through the entrance and pulled her into my arms. She was freezing, her jacket inadequate for the rain, her hair plastered to her face. She clung to me, shaking. I'm sorry. She kept repeating. I'm so sorry. Shh. It's okay. You're safe now. Miss Collins? I looked up to find Antonio standing nearby, relief evident on his face. We've been trying to keep her comfortable. She wouldn't let us call the police. She just kept asking for you. Thank you. I'm so sorry she showed up like this. Don't apologize. I'm just glad she's safe. He hesitated. Mr. Verziani is upstairs. He asked to be notified when you arrived. Before I could respond, Julian appeared, descending from what must have been the upper floors. He wore dark slacks and a simple black sweater, more casual than I'd seen him, but no less commanding. His eyes went immediately to Lily, taking in her condition with a single sweep. Come upstairs, he said quietly. Both of you. You're soaked and freezing. We should go home. But even as I said it, I didn't move. Home felt dangerous. Home meant Derek eventually returning. Upstairs, Julian repeated. And this time, it wasn't a request. I followed him through the kitchen, where staff carefully averted their eyes, and up a narrow staircase I hadn't known existed. It opened into a hallway, then a spacious apartment that took my breath away. Hardwood floors, high ceilings, furniture that looked both expensive and comfortable. Sophia? Julian called out. A woman emerged from what appeared to be a kitchen area, maybe 55 or 60, with kind eyes and graying hair pulled back in a neat bun. She took one look at Lily and immediately moved into action. Oh, you poor darling. Come with me. Let's get you warmed up. She spoke with a faint accent, maybe Eastern European. I'll draw a hot bath and find some dry clothes. Lily looked at me questioningly, and I nodded. Sophia led her away, murmuring comforting words. Julian guided me to a leather couch, disappeared, and returned with a towel and a thick blanket. Dry off. Tell me what happened. So I did. All of it. The call from the school, the police, my certainty that Derek had taken her, the terror of those hours not knowing if my daughter was safe. Julian listened without interrupting, his expression unreadable but his jaw increasingly tight. She showed up here at 6:30, he said when I finished. soaking wet, asking Sophia if this was the restaurant where you worked. She wouldn't say what happened, wouldn't let us call anyone, just said she needed to see you. I should have protected her better. I should have left Derek years ago. Stop. His voice was firm. You did what you thought was right to survive. That's not a failure. I put my daughter in danger. That's exactly what it is. Before Julian could respond, Sophia returned with Lily, now wearing an oversized sweater and sweatpants, hair wrapped in a towel. She looked impossibly small and young. I pulled her onto the couch beside me. Tell me what happened today, baby. She picked at the hem of her borrowed sweater. I went to school like normal, but during first period, Derek was outside. I saw him through the window. He was just standing there watching the building. My blood turned cold. You didn't go outside to him, did you? No, I was scared. He looked really mad. She twisted the fabric between her fingers. At lunch, he was still there. That's when I got really scared. I thought he was going to come in and hurt you, or take me somewhere, so I left through the back door by the gym. The security guard was helping some delivery guy, so he didn't see me. You've been out in the city alone since noon? I couldn't breathe. Lily, anything could have happened to you. I know, I'm sorry. I went to the library first because it's warm there. Then I tried to remember how to get to your restaurant. It took a long time on the subway. I got lost twice. Tears spilled down her cheeks. I didn't know what else to do. I thought if I told the police, Derek would find out, and he'd be even more mad at you. Julian had been standing near the window, but now he moved closer, crouching down to be at Lily's eye level. His voice was gentle when he spoke. You did exactly the right thing, Lily. Coming here was very smart and very brave. I messed everything up. Now Mom's in trouble and the police are looking for me and we're going to fix all of it. Julian interrupted. But first, I need you to answer some questions. Is that okay? Lily nodded, wiping at her eyes. Did Derek try to approach you at school? Did he say anything? No. He just stood there watching, but he had this look on his face. The same one he gets before he hurts Mom. Julian's expression darkened, but his tone remained calm. Have you seen that look before? Has he ever hurt you? No. He mostly just yells at me or tells me I'm stupid. But he hurts Mom a lot. My eyes burned. I'd tried so hard to hide it, to pretend everything was fine. Children always knew more than you wanted them to. Julian stood, pulling out his phone. I need to make a call. Stay here, both of you. He stepped into another room, but I could hear his voice, low and authoritative, speaking to someone named Anthony. I caught fragments. Surveillance footage, school perimeter. Find him before the police do. When he returned, his face was set in hard lines. Anthony is handling things. Derek will not be a problem much longer. What does that mean? It means, he said carefully, that sometimes problems are solved outside traditional channels. You don't need to worry about the details. I should have been frightened by the implication. Instead, I felt a wave of relief so intense it nearly knocked me over. Sophia emerged from the kitchen carrying a tray with steaming mugs. Hot chocolate, she announced, setting it down on the coffee table. With extra marshmallows for you, sweetheart. She smiled at Lily, who managed a small smile back, while Lily sipped her drink, gradually warming up and relaxing. Julian sat in a chair across from us and asked quiet questions. Where we lived, how long Derek had been part of our lives, if there was anywhere else we could stay, if I had family who could help. No to everything. You can't go back to that apartment, he said finally. Not tonight. We don't have anywhere else to go. You can stay here. I have guest rooms upstairs. I can't accept that. You've already done too much. Megan. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees. In approximately 2 hours, Derek is going to realize his intimidation tactic didn't work. That Lily got away and came to you. He will go to your apartment. What do you think happens then? I knew exactly what would happen. Derek's rage would be nuclear. He'd destroy everything, and if I was there when he arrived, I might not survive it. I'll call the police, have them meet us there. And they'll do what? Take a statement? File a report? Maybe issue a restraining order that Derek will ignore? His voice was measured, but firm. The system is designed to protect you after you're already hurt or dead. I'm offering protection now, before it gets to that point. Lily had been quiet, drinking her chocolate and petting a cat that had appeared from somewhere. But now she spoke up. Can you really make people disappear? The question hung in the air. Julian's eyes met mine, a silent question. How honest did I want him to be? Sometimes, he said carefully. Why do you ask? Because I want Derek to disappear. Her voice was matter-of-fact, too adult for a 10-year-old. I want him gone so he can't hurt my mom anymore. Lily, I started, but Julian held up a hand. That's a very serious thing to want. Do you understand what you're asking? I think so. She set down her mug. I know you're not a regular restaurant owner. Antonio and the other servers talk about you when they think people aren't listening. They say you're someone important. Someone who fixes problems. Julian's mouth quirked slightly. Smart girl. So can you? Make Derek go away? He looked at her for a long moment, then at me. Yes, I can make Derek go away, but your mother has to agree to let me help. It's her decision, not mine. They both turned to me, waiting. This was the moment. Say yes. And I'd be accepting help from someone clearly dangerous. Someone who operated outside the law. Someone whose methods I didn't want to think about too carefully. Say no. And I'd be taking Lily back to a situation that was spiraling toward violence. What would that help look like? I asked quietly. You and Lily stay here temporarily while Anthony and my people handle the situation with Derek. We'll make sure he understands that leaving you alone is in his best interest. We'll make arrangements for you to move somewhere he can't find you, get you resources to start over. And the cost? There is no cost. There's always a cost. Not this time. His eyes held mine. I told you. I have personal reasons for not tolerating men like Derek. This isn't charity, and it isn't me expecting something in return. It's me using resources I have to help someone who needs it. Sophia touched my shoulder gently. He means it. Julian doesn't offer unless he intends to follow through. And he wouldn't put a child in danger. I looked at Lily. Exhausted and vulnerable. Wrapped in borrowed clothes in a stranger's home. I thought about the apartment in Queens. The broken dishes I'd swept up. The bruises I'd covered with makeup. The years of walking on eggshells and hoping tomorrow would be better. Okay, I whispered. Help us. Julian nodded once, as if he'd expected nothing less. Sophia will show you to a guest room. Tomorrow we'll make permanent arrangements. For tonight, just rest. Sophia led us up another flight of stairs to a bedroom with a private bathroom. Fresh towels laid out. A bed that looked like heaven. She promised to bring up some of her daughter's old clothes for Lily to wear tomorrow. After she left, Lily climbed into the big bed, still wrapped in the oversized sweater. I lay down beside her, stroking her damp hair. Mom, are we going to be okay now? Yes, baby, we're going to be okay. I wasn't sure if I believed it. But lying there in a stranger's home, listening to my daughter's breathing slow as she finally felt safe enough to sleep, I thought maybe, just maybe, we had a chance. I woke to sunlight streaming through unfamiliar windows and momentary panic before remembering where I was. Lily slept beside me, one arm flung over her head, breathing deeply. Safe. We were safe. The clock on the nightstand read 9:30. I couldn't remember the last time I'd slept past 6 in the morning. My body ached in a way that had nothing to do with physical injury and everything to do with years of accumulated tension finally releasing. A soft knock at the door made me sit up. Come in. Sophia entered carrying a tray with coffee, orange juice, and pastries that smelled like heaven. Good morning. I thought you might be hungry. You didn't have to do this. Of course I did. She set the tray on a small table by the window. Julian asked me to let you know he'll be back this afternoon. He had business to attend to this morning. Business. I wondered what that meant. What Anthony and Julian's people were doing about Derek. Part of me didn't want to know. The larger part was grateful not to have to think about it. Sophia? I kept my voice low, not wanting to wake Lily. How long have you worked for Julian? 15 years. Since his father passed away and he took over the family business. She poured coffee into a delicate cup. He's a good man, better than many would believe. What kind of business is it? Really? She met my eyes directly. The kind where questions are dangerous. But I can tell you this. Julian has rules. No drugs, no human trafficking, nothing that harms innocent people. His family has always believed in protecting the neighborhood, in being what the police cannot be. A crime family, then. Not quite the Mafia of movies, but close. I should have been terrified. Instead, I felt oddly calm. He told me about his sister, I said. The one who died. Sophia's face softened. Maria. She was 16, beautiful and sweet. Fell in love with a boy who seemed charming at first. By the time Julian realized what was happening, she was already in too deep. The boy put her in the hospital twice. Julian tried to intervene, but she defended him, swore it wouldn't happen again. What happened? The boy killed her, strangled her in a parking lot after she tried to break up with him. Sophia's hands clenched. Julian found her body. He was 20 years old, had just started working with his father. That night changed everything. He made a vow that no woman under his protection would ever suffer like Maria did. My throat tightened. I'm sorry. Don't be sorry. Just understand that when Julian offers help, he means it. And when he promises someone will be safe, they will be. After Sophia left, I showered in the ensuite bathroom, marveling at water pressure that actually worked, at towels that weren't threadbare. I found clothes laid out on the bed when I emerged. Jeans that fit perfectly, a soft sweater in dark green, undergarments still in packages. Lily woke while I was getting dressed, stretching like a cat. Where are we? Still at the restaurant. In Mr. Verciani's apartment. Julian, she corrected. He said last night we should call him Julian. When did he say that? When you were in the bathroom and he brought me cookies. He's nice, Mom. Really nice. Not fake nice like Derek pretended to be. Children had instincts adults forgot to trust. Lily saw through Derek's charm within months, but I'd let hope blind me for years. We went downstairs to find Julian in the kitchen, cooking. He wore jeans and a black t-shirt, looking younger and more approachable than the suited businessman I'd first met. Good morning, he said, flipping what looked like an omelet. Hungry? You didn't have to cook for us. I enjoy cooking. Reminds me of my mother. He plated the omelet, added toast and fruit. Besides, we need to talk about next steps. We ate at the kitchen counter while Julian laid out the situation with clinical efficiency. Anthony had located Derek at a bar in Queens at 2 a.m, drunk and making threats about what he'd do when he found us. They'd intercepted him, had a conversation, made the consequences of pursuing us very clear. What kind of consequences? I asked. The kind that convinced him leaving New York was in his best interest. He'll be on a bus to Philadelphia by this evening with $500 in his pocket, and an understanding that returning here would be extremely unwise. Just like that? He'll just go? Julian's expression was unreadable. Derek has gambling debts. Significant ones, with people far less patient than loan sharks. Anthony bought those debts this morning. Derek now owes me directly, and I've forgiven the debt in exchange for him leaving the city permanently. If he returns, the debt reinstates with interest, and collection methods become considerably less pleasant. I should have questioned the legality of it, the morality. Instead, I felt relief so profound it made me dizzy. There's more, Julian continued. Anthony pulled Derek's background. He has connections to the Russos, a rival organization, through his gambling. They're using him for information, paying off his debts in exchange for intelligence about anyone connected to me. I don't understand. How am I connected to you? You work at my restaurant. You're living in my home. You accepted my help. In Derek's desperation, he told them about you, about Lily, thinking the information might be valuable. Julian's voice was controlled, but anger simmered beneath. The Russos have been looking for leverage against me. A month ago, I cost them $3 million by tipping off the police about a shipment. They want revenge. Lily had been quietly eating her breakfast, but now she set down her fork. Are we in danger because of Derek? Julian crouched down to her eye level. Not if I can help it. But it means we need to be more careful than I initially thought. Derek is a problem I can solve easily. The Russos are more complicated. Because they're like you, Lily said matter-of-factly. Powerful and dangerous. A ghost of a smile touched Julian's mouth. Exactly like me. Which is why I understand how they think. what they'll do next. What will they do? I asked. Depends on whether Derek already gave them detailed information. If so, they know where you lived, where Lily goes to school, your routines. They might see you as an asset to acquire, a way to manipulate me. This is insane. I stood, pacing the kitchen. Yesterday, my biggest problem was an abusive boyfriend. Now I'm apparently caught in some mob war? Not a war. A chess match. Julian stood as well. And I'm very good at chess. I don't want to be a chess piece. Then you'll be a protected player. There's a difference. Is there? I turned to face him. Because from where I'm standing, I've traded one prison for another. Derek controlled me through fear. You're controlling me through protection that comes with strings I don't even understand yet. Something flickered in his eyes. Hurt, maybe, or respect for my directness. You're right. I should have been clearer about the complexities before offering help. If you want to leave, I'll provide resources to get you and Lily somewhere safe, somewhere Derek and the Russos can't find you. New identities, financial support to start over. No strings. Really? You'd just let us disappear? Yes. Because forcing you to stay would make me no better than Derek. He moved closer, and I caught the scent of coffee, and something woodsy. Cedar, maybe. But I'd prefer you stayed. Not just because it's safer under my direct protection, but because I'd like the chance to prove that not all powerful men are predators. Lily tugged on my sleeve. Mom, I think we should stay. Baby, this is complicated. I know. But Julian makes you smile. Derek never did. She looked between us. And I feel safe here. I haven't felt safe in a really long time. Out of the mouths of children. I thought about the apartment in Queens, the broken dishes, the bruises, the constant vigilance. I thought about Derek's alcohol-soaked breath and the way he made me feel small and worthless. Then I looked at Julian, at this dangerous man who defended me without asking for anything in return, who'd taken in my daughter and made her hot chocolate, who'd admitted his own failures with such honesty. If we stay, I said slowly, I need ground rules. Full honesty about dangers we face. No keeping me in the dark for my own good. And I work for my keep. I'm not a charity case. Agreed on all counts. Julian extended his hand. Partners in this, not prisoner and captor. I shook his hand, feeling the warmth and strength of his grip. Partners. The rest of that Saturday passed in strange domesticity. Julian insisted on giving us a tour of the building. The restaurant occupied the ground floor, his office and meeting rooms were on the second floor, and his apartment took up the third and fourth floors. There were security cameras everywhere, guards positioned discreetly, layers of protection I hadn't noticed the night before. Is it always like this? I asked. The security? Yes. My father was killed in a parking lot outside his favorite restaurant. Shot twice in the back by a rival who thought murdering him would create a power vacuum. Julian's voice was matter of fact. I was 19, barely ready to take over. I learned quickly that visible power requires invisible protection. Lily explored the apartment with the enthusiasm of a child who'd spent too long in cramped spaces. She discovered Julian's library on the fourth floor and gasped at the floor-to-ceiling shelves. You can read anything you want, Julian told her. I'll get you a library card too, for the public library. Really? Derek said libraries were for poor people and homeless people. Derek said many stupid things. Julian pulled down a worn copy of something with a dragon on the cover. This was my favorite when I was your age. You're welcome to borrow it. Watching them together, I saw something shift in Julian's expression. He wasn't just protecting us out of guilt over his sister. He genuinely cared, was forming a connection with Lily that had nothing to do with obligation. That evening, after Lily fell asleep reading the dragon book in our guest room, I found Julian on the rooftop terrace I hadn't known existed. He stood at the railing, looking out over Manhattan's glittering skyline, a glass of whiskey in hand. Mine company? I asked. Please. He gestured to the empty space beside him. Can't sleep? Too much to process. Yesterday morning I was scrubbing toilets and worrying about rent. Now I'm hiding from organized crime in a mobster's penthouse. Alleged mobster. His mouth quirked. No convictions on my record. How does that work exactly? Everyone seems to know what you do, but you're never arrested. Careful operations, good lawyers, better relationships with people in positions to look the other way when my business doesn't harm their interests. He took a sip of whiskey. I'm not Robin Hood, Megan. I don't pretend my work is noble, but I do have rules, limits. That has to count for something. It does. I surprised myself by meaning it. Sophia told me about Maria. I'm sorry you lost her. Me too. Every day. He stared at his glass. After she died, I became obsessed with control. If I could control my territory, my people, every variable, then I could prevent more tragedies. It's an illusion, obviously. You can't control everything, but you can create environments where the vulnerable have protection, where the predators think twice. Is that what Derek is? A predator? One of the weakest kind. Men who hit women aren't strong. They're cowards who mistake control for power. He turned to face me fully. You're not weak for staying with him. Survival is its own form of strength. I don't feel strong. I feel like I failed my daughter every day I didn't leave. You're here now. That's what matters. His hand moved as if to touch my shoulder, then dropped. Tomorrow, I'll take you to retrieve anything you need from your apartment. Derek will be gone by then, and you'll have a police escort in case he left any surprises. Then we'll set you up in a secure location. What kind of secure location? I have a property in Westchester. 8 acres, security team, private. Too far from the city for you to keep working at Belante. But I'll arrange employment for you. Something that uses your brain, not just your ability to carry plates. You don't even know what I'm qualified for. Then tell me, what did you want to be before Derek? Before survival mode? I had to think about it. The dreams I'd buried so deep I'd forgotten they existed. I wanted to teach. Elementary school, maybe art. I was taking night classes at community college before Lily was born, working toward my degree. Then you'll finish your degree. I'll cover tuition, arrange a flexible schedule around Lily's needs. When you're ready, you'll teach. That's too much. That's an investment in someone who deserves a second chance. He finished his whiskey. You're not a project, Megan. You're a person who got dealt a bad hand. All I'm doing is evening the odds. Standing on that rooftop with the city spread below us and a dangerous man offering me a future I'd stopped believing in, I felt something crack open in my chest. Not love, not yet, but possibility. The first green shoot of hope pushing through frozen ground. Thank you, I whispered, for everything. Thank me when we get through the complicated part. He met my eyes. The Russos won't let this go easily. Once they realize Derek can't provide information anymore, they'll probe for other weaknesses. It's going to get harder before it gets easier. I understand. Do you? Because once you're under my protection officially, there's no going back to your old life. People will know you're connected to me. That comes with its own dangers. My old life was dangerous too. At least this danger comes with allies. He smiled then, genuine and warm. Allies. I like that better than captor and prisoner. And we stood in comfortable silence, watching the city breathe. Somewhere out there, Derek was packing his few belongings, preparing to leave on a bus that would take him far from us. Somewhere out there, the Russos were planning whatever chess move came next. But for tonight, on this rooftop, Lily was safe, and sleeping with a book about dragons. I was standing beside someone who'd promised protection, and seemed to actually mean it. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, complications I couldn't yet imagine. Tonight, we had peace. Fragile and temporary, but real. By the following Thursday, we'd established a routine that felt surreal in its normalcy. I officially quit my morning cleaning job via a phone call that took less than 3 minutes. My supervisor barely seemed to notice, already moving on to finding my replacement before we hung up. 3 years of scrubbing other people's floors, dismissed in 180 seconds. Julian was true to his word about employment at Belante. I started working Monday through Friday from 10 in the morning until 3 in the afternoon, managing reservations and coordinating with the front-of-house staff. The job utilized organizational skills I'd forgotten I possessed, and the pay was triple what I'd made serving tables. Antonio treated me with professional respect, never once mentioning the circumstances that brought me into Julian's orbit. Lily enrolled in a private school 6 blocks from the restaurant. St. Catherine's Academy was the kind of place I'd never imagined affording, with small class sizes and teachers who actually seemed invested in their students. The tuition was covered through what Julian called a scholarship fund, though I suspected he'd simply written a check. On Tuesday afternoon, the school's administrator called to discuss Lily's placement tests. My daughter, who I'd worried was falling behind due to the chaos of our home life, was actually testing above grade level in reading and mathematics. The administrator suggested advancing her to 6th grade curriculum for those subjects. She's remarkably bright, Mrs. Harrison said warmly, and very articulate. You should be proud. I was proud, and angry at Derek for making me doubt my daughter's potential, for creating an environment where her intelligence was dismissed as irrelevant. That same Tuesday, Derek appeared at Belante during the lunch service. I was reviewing next week's reservations when Antonio rushed into the office, face pale. He's here, the boyfriend. He's demanding to see you. My hands trembled, pen clattering to the desk. Where's Julian? Meeting with suppliers. Won't be back for an hour. Antonio's hand moved to his phone. I'm calling the police. No. I stood, straightening my shoulders. I'll handle this. Megan, that's not safe. Then come with me. But I need to face him. I need to know I can. Antonio followed me to the dining room, staying close. Derek stood near the hostess station, looking worse than I'd seen him. His face was haggard, eyes bloodshot, clothes rumpled. He reeked of alcohol even from 10 feet away. There you are. His voice was too loud, drawing stares from diners. We need to talk. Now. We have nothing to talk about. You need to leave. I'm not leaving until you listen. He took a step forward, and Antonio moved between us. This is between me and my girlfriend. I'm not your girlfriend. We're done, Derek. Completely done. Done? He laughed, the sound bitter and harsh. You don't get to decide that. You think you can just run off, hide behind some rich guy, and I'll disappear? Actually, yes. That's exactly what I think. I kept my voice steady despite the fear coiling in my stomach. You have no legal claim to me or Lily. You have no right to be here. I have every right. I took care of you for 3 years. Gave you a place to live, food to eat. You owe me. I owe you. The words came out sharp, cutting. You beat me, Derek. You terrorized my daughter. You broke my ribs and gave me a concussion last year that I lied about at the emergency room. I don't owe you anything except contempt. His face flushed dark red. You're making me sound like some kind of monster. If the description fits. He lunged forward, but Antonio was faster, catching his arm and twisting it behind his back with practiced efficiency. 2 security guards materialized from somewhere, flanking them. You're trespassing, Antonio said calmly. Leave voluntarily, or we'll have you arrested for assault and harassment. Derek struggled briefly, then went limp. This isn't over, Megan. You can't hide forever. Actually, a new voice cut through the tension. She can hide exactly as long as necessary. Julian stood in the restaurant entrance, flanked by Anthony and another man I didn't recognize. He moved through the space with deliberate purpose, and I watched Derek's bravado crumble. Mr. Versiani. Derek's voice lost its aggressive edge. Look, I just wanted to talk to her, that's all. No. Julian stopped a few feet away. You came here to intimidate her, to reassert control you never had the right to exercise in the first place. That ends now. You can't tell me what to do. I can, and I am. Julian's voice remained conversational, but something in his tone made the temperature in the room drop. You were offered a generous solution. Transportation out of the city, forgiveness of substantial debts, a clean slate. You accepted those terms. Yet here you are, violating our agreement. I changed my mind. That's unfortunate. Julian nodded to Anthony, who pulled out his phone and made a brief call. Because the people you owe money to, the ones whose debts I purchased, they're very interested in your current location. Derek's face went white. You can't do that. We had a deal. We did. You broke it. Julian's expression was carved from ice. You have 2 choices. Leave New York on the next available bus, or I return your debt to its original holders. They're significantly less patient than I am. They also don't have rules against violence. You're threatening me. I'm stating facts. Your debts total $43,000. The Russian organization that held them specializes in collections that involve broken bones and burned buildings. They're aware you have no assets, no income, no way to pay. What do you think happens next if I remove my protection? The silence stretched taut. Derek looked around wildly, at the security guards, at Antonio still holding his arm, at me standing behind Julian. You think you're so safe with him? Derek spat at me. He's worse than I ever was. At least I never pretended to be something I'm not. No, I said quietly. You just pretended you loved me while you made my life hell. Julian never pretended anything. He was honest about what he is from the beginning. This is insane. You're choosing a criminal over me? I'm choosing safety over abuse. There's a difference. Anthony stepped forward, phone in hand. The Russos are very interested in Mr. Price's location. Should I share it? Derek's resistance collapsed entirely. Fine, I'll go. But you're making a mistake, Megan. You'll regret this. The only thing I regret is not leaving you years ago. Security escorted Derek out through the front entrance. I watched through the window as they put him in a car, presumably heading to the bus station. My hands were shaking, adrenaline making my knees weak. Julian touched my elbow gently. Come upstairs. You need to sit down. I followed him to his apartment, where Sophia immediately appeared with water and a concerned expression. Julian guided me to the couch, sat beside me without crowding. I'm sorry, I said. I thought I could handle seeing him. I thought I'd feel stronger. You were incredibly strong. You stood your ground, told him the truth, didn't back down. His voice was warm with approval. That's not weakness, Megan. That's courage. I was terrified. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's acting despite it. He paused. But Derek's appearance changes things. He knows you're here now, knows you're working for me. The Russos will learn this information if they haven't already. What does that mean? It means we need to accelerate our timeline. I was going to give you another week before moving you to the Westchester property. Let you and Lily adjust gradually. That's no longer viable. He pulled out his phone, scrolled through something. Anthony's already arranging the transfer. You'll move tomorrow, Friday. I'll come with you to get you settled. Tomorrow? But Lily just started school here. She's making friends, adjusting well. She'll transfer to the school near the property. It's also excellent, possibly better. Small class sizes, strong academic programs. Julian's tone was gentle but firm. I know this is disruptive, but your safety takes precedence over convenience. He was right, of course. I knew he was right, but the speed of it all made my head spin. 1 week ago, I was scrubbing floors and serving pasta. Now I was relocating to a secure compound because organized criminals might view me as leverage. What about Belante? I just started working here. You'll work remotely, managing online reservations and communications. Sophia can handle anything that requires physical presence. He hesitated. I'll also be spending more time in Westchester. My business doesn't require me to be in Manhattan constantly, and I'd prefer to maintain direct oversight of your security. You're rearranging your life because of us. I'm adjusting my schedule to protect people under my care. There's a difference. His hand covered mine briefly, warm and reassuring. This isn't a burden, Megan. It's a choice I'm making willingly. That evening I told Lily about the move over dinner that Sophia prepared. My daughter, resilient in ways that broke my heart, simply nodded. Will I have my own room? Yes. A bigger one than you've ever had. And Derek can't find us there? No. You'll be completely safe. Okay. She returned to her pasta. Can I bring the dragon book Julian lent me? Of course. Then I don't care where we live, as long as you're not sad anymore. I hadn't realized how much my unhappiness had weighed on her, how much she'd absorbed and carried. Children noticed everything, felt everything, even when you tried to shield them. Friday morning arrived with gray skies and the promise of rain. Julian loaded our few belongings into a black SUV, Anthony driving with another guard in the passenger seat. Lily sat between Julian and me in the back, clutching her dragon book and looking out the window as we left Manhattan. The drive took 45 minutes. Traffic light on a weekday morning. We exited the highway into suburban neighborhoods that gradually gave way to larger properties with more space between homes. Finally, we turned through iron gates that opened automatically, drove up a long driveway lined with mature trees. The house was beautiful. Not ostentatious, but clearly expensive. 2 stories, stone and wood exterior, surrounded by manicured lawns that stretched to a line of forest at the property's edge. Nothing like the cramped apartment in Queens. "This is where we're staying?" Lily's voice was odd. "This is home now," Julian corrected. "For as long as you need it." Home. The word felt foreign, aspirational. Home was supposed to be safe, warm, a refuge. I'd forgotten what that felt like. Inside, the house was furnished but not lived in, like a model home waiting for a family to bring it to life. Julian gave us a tour. Spacious kitchen, comfortable living areas, 4 bedrooms upstairs including a master suite that made me gasp. "You're giving us the master bedroom?" I asked. "I'll use one of the others when I'm here. You and Lily need the space more." He opened a closet filled with clothes in various sizes. Sophia took the liberty of ordering basics. "If anything doesn't fit, or you need something else, just let her know." The gesture should have felt intrusive. Instead, it felt like someone had actually paid attention to our needs, anticipated them, tried to help. Lily claimed the bedroom next to mine, complete with built-in bookshelves and a window seat overlooking the garden. She immediately started arranging her few belongings, humming to herself. Julian found me in the master bedroom, staring out at the property. "What are you thinking? That this feels like a dream, or a trap? I can't decide which." "Neither. It's just a house, and you're just staying here until the situation stabilizes." He moved to stand beside me. "I know this is overwhelming. Too much change too fast. But you're safe here, Megan. That's what matters." "For how long? Days, weeks, years?" I turned to face him. "When does this end? When Derek is no longer a threat? When the Russos lose interest in using you against me? When you're strong enough to stand on your own?" His dark eyes held mine. "However long that takes." The honesty was both comforting and terrifying. No false promises, no guarantees of quick resolution. Just the truth. My life had been irrevocably changed, and there was no going back to what was before. "Thank you," I said softly, "for everything. I know I keep saying it, but I don't know what else to say." "You don't have to say anything. Just focus on healing, on building a life that's yours." He smiled slightly. "And maybe on letting Lily explore the property. There's a pond behind the trees where she can feed the ducks." After he left to meet with Anthony and the security team, I sat on the edge of the enormous bed and tried to process everything. 7 days, 1 week had transformed my entire existence. I'd gone from victim to protected, from trapped to free, from hopeless to something that almost resembled hopeful. The cost of that transformation was a debt I couldn't quantify, owed to a man I barely knew, but was starting to trust. Outside, through the window, I could see Lily running across the lawn toward the trees, finally moving like a child instead of someone perpetually braced for impact. Maybe that was worth any price. 10 days passed in deceptive peace. Lily thrived at her new school, coming home each afternoon with stories about science experiments and art projects. I worked remotely from the house, managing Belante's online presence and coordinating with Antonio. Julian stayed at the property most nights, working from a home office he'd converted from what used to be a den. We fell into a rhythm that felt almost domestic. Dinners together in the large kitchen, Lily chattering about her day while Julian and I exchanged glances over her head. Evening walks around the property's perimeter, security guards maintaining discreet distance. Lily would run ahead, chasing fireflies or examining interesting rocks, while Julian and I talked about everything except the danger we were hiding from. Then Friday afternoon arrived, and everything shattered. I was reviewing reservation requests when my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. "Mrs. Collins?" A woman's voice, professional but strained. "This is Principal Waverly from St. Catherine's Academy. There's been an incident with Lily. She's safe, but you need to come to the school immediately." My heart stopped. What kind of incident? What happened? It's better if we discuss this in person. How quickly can you get here? 20 minutes. I'm leaving now. I found Julian in his office, already on his phone with someone. His expression dark. He looked up when I burst in. Lily's school called. There's been an incident. I need to go there right now. Anthony just called. There was an attempted abduction at St. Catherine's 15 minutes ago. His voice was controlled fury. 3 men in a van. They tried to grab Lily during outdoor recess. The security detail stopped them, but one of the men was injured in the confrontation. The room tilted. I gripped the doorframe for support. Is she hurt? No. Shaken but physically unharmed. He was already moving, grabbing his jacket. But this changes everything. The Russos made their move. The drive to St. Catherine's took 12 eternal minutes, Julian pushing the SUV faster than was safe, Anthony in the passenger seat coordinating with people on his phone. 2 more vehicles followed us, filled with Julian's security team. We arrived to find police cars in the school parking lot, officers interviewing staff. Principal Waverly met us at the entrance, her usually composed face pale and worried. Mr. Versiani, Mrs. Collins, Lily is in my office with the counselor. She's doing remarkably well considering what happened, but she's asking for you both. We followed her through hallways decorated with student artwork, past classrooms where normal children were having normal afternoons. My daughter was in the principal's office because organized criminals had tried to kidnap her. Lily sat on a couch in the office, wrapped in an oversized school sweatshirt, clutching a juice box. When she saw me, she launched herself into my arms. Mom, I'm okay. I promise I'm okay. I held her tight, checking for injuries even as she insisted she was fine. Julian crouched down beside us, his hand on Lily's shoulder. Can you tell us what happened? He asked gently. We were at recess. I was on the swings with my friend Emma. Then this van pulled up to the fence and these men got out. Her voice was steady, too steady for a 10-year-old describing her own attempted kidnapping. One of them called my name, said my mom sent them to pick me up early. But I remembered what you taught me, Julian. Never go with anyone unless you tell me first. Good girl. What happened next? I ran toward the school building. They tried to grab me through the fence. But then the security guys came. She looked at Julian. The ones you assigned to watch me. They stopped the men. There was fighting, and one of the bad guys got hurt. Then the police came. Principal Waverly cleared her throat. The 2 men who were guarding Lily intervened immediately. One of the attempted kidnappers sustained a broken arm when he was prevented from breaching the fence. The other 2 fled in the van before police arrived. Julian's jaw was rigid. Where are my men now? Speaking with police, they're being very cooperative. Her eyes held his meaningfully. The officers seemed satisfied that they acted in defense of a child. Good. Julian stood, pulling out his phone. Anthony, make sure our people have legal representation on site within the hour, and find that van. The next 2 hours were a blur of police statements and witness interviews. Lily recounted her story 3 times with remarkable consistency. I answered questions about why my daughter had private security, deflecting with vague mentions of safety concerns related to her stepfather. Finally, we were allowed to leave. Julian insisted on keeping Lily home from school Monday, arranging for her assignments to be sent electronically. We drove back to the Westchester property in tense silence, Lily dozing between us in the back seat. Once home, I tucked Lily into bed early. She fell asleep quickly, exhaustion overtaking adrenaline. I found Julian on the back terrace, staring into the darkness beyond the property lights. This is my fault, I said without preamble. If I'd never accepted your help, if I'd just figured out how to leave Derek on my own, Lily wouldn't be a target. If you'd left Derek on your own, you'd probably be dead by now. His voice was flat, factual, and Lily would be in foster care or worse. This isn't your fault, Megan. It's mine. How is this your fault? I underestimated the Russos. I thought Derek was the only threat, that neutralizing him would resolve the situation. He turned to face me. I was wrong. They've been watching longer than I realized. Saw an opportunity to hurt me through you. I should have anticipated this. You're not omniscient. You can't predict everything. In my world, failing to predict gets people killed. His hands clenched into fists. Lily could have been taken today. Do you understand what they would have done? They'd have used her to force my compliance, to extract concessions, and when they were done with her as leverage, they'd have killed her to send a message. The cold recitation of facts made my blood freeze. So what do we do now? We end this. Permanently. He pulled out his phone, made a call. Anthony, it's time. Set up the meeting with Volkov. I want him and his lieutenants at the warehouse tomorrow night. Who's Volkov? Dmitry Volkov, leader of the Russian organization that's been causing problems. Julian's expression was carved from stone. Tomorrow night, we're going to have a conversation about boundaries and consequences. And you're coming with me. What? No, I'm not leaving Lily. Lily will have a full security detail here. Sophia's already on her way from Manhattan to stay with her. He moved closer. I need you there, Megan. I need the Russos to see what they tried to take, to understand the stakes of their actions. You want to use me as a prop in your criminal negotiations? I want them to see you as a person, not a faceless asset. I want Dmitry to look you in the eye and explain why he thought terrorizing your daughter was acceptable. His voice dropped. And I want you to see the end of the threat. No more looking over your shoulder. No more wondering when they'll try again. It should have terrified me, the prospect of facing the man who'd ordered my daughter's kidnapping. Instead, rage burned through the fear. These people had come after Lily, my sweet, brilliant daughter who'd already survived too much trauma. I want to see him, I said. I want to look him in the eye. It won't be pleasant. These meetings rarely are. I don't care about pleasant. I care about safety, about knowing the threat is gone. I straightened my shoulders. When do we leave? Tomorrow at 6. Anthony will brief you on what to expect, how these things work. He hesitated. Once you see this side of my world, there's no unseeing it. You'll know exactly what I am, what I'm capable of. I already know what you're capable of. You're capable of protecting people who need it, even when it costs you. I met his eyes directly. Show me the rest. I can handle it. Saturday evening arrived with heavy clouds promising rain. Sophia had arrived that afternoon, immediately taking charge of Lily with warm efficiency. My daughter seemed calm, almost unnaturally so, as if she'd already processed and filed away her traumatic experience. Be careful, Mom, she said, when I came to say goodbye. But make sure they know they can't hurt us anymore. I will, baby. Good. She returned to the puzzle Sophia had set up. Julian will keep you safe. He keeps everyone safe. The faith in her voice nearly broke me. She'd transferred all her trust from me to Julian, believing in his protection with the certainty of childhood innocence. The warehouse was an hour away, in an industrial area where questions weren't asked, and witnesses were scarce. We drove in a convoy of 3 vehicles, Anthony and 6 of Julian's men spread between them. I wore dark jeans and a jacket Julian had insisted on, nondescript and practical. When we arrive, stay close to me, Julian instructed as we pulled up to a nondescript building. Don't speak unless spoken to directly. These men respect strength, not timidity. But there's a line between strong and suicidal. Stay behind that line. Inside, the warehouse had been cleared except for a table and chairs in the center, surrounded by harsh industrial lighting. 4 men already waited, dressed in expensive suits that couldn't hide their dangerous nature. The one in the center was older, maybe 50, with cold blue eyes and a face that might have been handsome before violence and time weathered it. Dmitry Volkov. Julian's men fanned out, creating a clear perimeter. Julian guided me to stand slightly behind him, close enough for protection, but visible enough to be seen. The 2 groups faced each other across 10 feet of concrete floor. Versiani. Dmitry spoke first, his accent heavy. You requested this meeting. Here we are. Thank you for accepting. Julian's voice was all cold politeness. We have matters to discuss. Specifically, your organization's attempted kidnapping of a child yesterday afternoon. Child? Dmitry's expression was blank. I know nothing about a child. Lily Collins, 10 years old, attends St. Catherine's Academy. Julian's tone didn't change. 3 of your men attempted to abduct her during recess. 1 sustained a broken arm when my security stopped them. The other 2 fled but have been identified. You have proof these men work for me? I have their names, addresses, and the fact that they've been on my payroll for the past 18 months as informants. They reported directly to your lieutenant, Sergei Kuznetsov. Julian gestured to one of the men beside Dmitri. Would you like me to continue, or shall we dispense with the pretense? Dmitri's expression hardened. Perhaps some of my people acted without authorization. Overzealous. But you cost us $3 million, Versiani. There are consequences for such actions. And there are consequences for targeting children. Julian's voice dropped to a deadly quiet. You wanted my attention? You have it. You wanted to send a message? Message received. Now here's mine. You will never, under any circumstances, approach Megan Collins or her daughter again. Not directly. Not through intermediaries. Not even in passing conversation. They are permanently off limits. Or what? You threaten war over some woman? Not some woman. This woman. Julian moved aside slightly, making sure I was fully visible. Megan, say hello to Mr. Volkov. My mouth was dry, but I forced words out. Hello. Dmitri's eyes swept over me. Dismissive. Pretty, but not worth a war. That's where you're wrong. Julian stepped forward. She's worth everything. Because the moment your men tried to take her daughter, you declared war on me. I'm simply here to offer terms of surrender. Surrender? Dmitri laughed. You're outnumbered, outgunned. What makes you think? Because I own your debt. Julian pulled out a folder, slid it across the table. $43,000 Derek Price owed you. I bought it. But I also bought the debt of 12 of your street dealers, totaling $300,000, and the mortgage on 3 properties your organization uses as fronts, totaling $2 million. All purchased through shell companies over the past month. Dmitri's face went white as he flipped through the documents. You now owe me directly, Julian continued. And unlike your previous creditors, I don't need the money, which means I can choose to forgive the debt, or I can choose to collect using methods that will cripple your operation. Your choice depends entirely on what happens next. The silence stretched taut. Finally, Dmitri spoke, his voice carefully controlled. What are your terms? Leave New York. Take your organization to Philadelphia, Boston, anywhere that isn't my territory. You have 3 months to relocate. In exchange, all debts are forgiven, and we part as neutral parties. And if I refuse, then I collect. And my collection methods make your men's attempted kidnapping look gentle. Julian's expression was ice. Choose wisely, Dmitri. Choose quickly. The standoff lasted another 10 seconds before Dmitri nodded once, sharp and final. Agreed. 3 months. Good. Julian turned to Anthony. See that Mr. Volkov and his people leave safely. It was over. Just like that. Years of territorial disputes, resolved in 20 minutes through financial leverage and credible threats. As we walked back to the car, my legs felt unsteady. That's it? I asked. He just agreed? He's a businessman before he's a criminal. I made him an offer that benefited him more than continued conflict. Julian helped me into the SUV. He saves face by choosing to relocate for business opportunities. I eliminate a threat without bloodshed. Everyone wins. Except Derek's debts were only $43,000. You spent millions to make this work. I spent what was necessary to protect you and Lily. He met my eyes. Was it worth it? I thought about Lily sleeping peacefully at home, about the threat finally neutralized, about the possibility of actually building a life without fear. Yes, I whispered. It was worth it. The first 3 weeks after the warehouse meeting felt like holding my breath underwater, waiting for consequences that never came. Dmitri kept his word. The Russos began their quiet withdrawal from New York, relocating operations with the same efficiency they'd used to build them. Anthony's intelligence network confirmed movement to Philadelphia and Baltimore, key personnel disappearing from their usual haunts. Lily returned to school with doubled security that she barely seemed to notice. She'd made a best friend named Emma, a shy girl with thick glasses who loved the same dragon books Julian had introduced Lily to. They spent afternoons at our house, building elaborate forts in the library and giggling over shared secrets. I watched my daughter bloom into someone I barely recognized. The timid, anxious child who'd lived under Derek's shadow was gone, replaced by a confident girl who raised her hand in class and joined the school's art club. Her nightmares stopped. The tension in her shoulders disappeared. She laughed easily now. Genuine joy that made my chest ache with relief. Julian spent most nights at the Westchester property, working from his home office but joining us for dinners that felt increasingly domestic. We'd fallen into patterns without discussing them. He cooked on Mondays and Wednesdays. I handled the other nights. Lily set the table without being asked. After dinner, we'd migrate to the living room where Julian helped Lily with homework, while I worked on remote tasks for Belante. It felt like family. That terrified me more than the Russos ever had. One evening in late November, after Lily went to bed, I found Julian on the back terrace despite the cold. He'd taken to standing there when he had difficult thoughts to process. I'd learned his tells over the past month. "What's wrong?" I asked, wrapping my coat tighter. "Derek's dead." The words hung in the frigid air. I waited for feeling to crash through me, guilt or grief or relief. Nothing came except a strange numbness. How? Overdose. Heroin, apparently. He was found in an alley in Philadelphia 3 days ago. Police ruled it accidental. Julian's voice was carefully neutral. Anthony just confirmed the identification. Did you have something to do with it? No. This wasn't my doing. He turned to face me. Derek made enemies beyond the ones I know about. He had debts, habits, connections to dangerous people who had their own reasons for wanting him gone. His death was inevitable. I just didn't predict the timing. I should have felt something. Derek had been part of my life for 3 years, the father figure in Lily's world during formative years, but all I felt was a door closing. Final and complete. Does Lily need to know? That's your decision. She never saw him as family. Never grieved losing him. Julian moved closer. But you might need to process this, even if you think you don't. I'm fine. You're always fine. Even when you're not. His hand touched my shoulder, warm through my coat. It's okay to have complicated feelings about this. That's when it hit me. Not grief, but staggering relief. Derek couldn't come back. Couldn't show up drunk at another restaurant. Couldn't track us down years from now. Couldn't hurt Lily ever again. The threat was permanently, irrevocably eliminated. I'm glad he's dead, I whispered. Does that make me terrible? It makes you human. He terrorized you for years. Relief is a natural response. Julian's thumb traced small circles on my shoulder. You're allowed to be glad the danger is gone. We stood in silence, the weight of Derek's death settling between us. Finally, Julian spoke again. There's something else we need to discuss. About your future. That sounds ominous. Not ominous. Just practical. He gestured toward the house. The threats are resolved. Derek is gone. The Russos are leaving. You're safe, which means you have choices now that you didn't have before. Understanding dawned cold and sharp. You're saying I can leave. That I don't need your protection anymore. I'm saying you have options. If you want to stay here, in this house, you're welcome indefinitely. If you want your own place, I'll help you find something secure and cover the initial costs until you're established. If you want to go back to school full-time, finish your degree, I'll arrange that. His expression was unreadable. You're not a prisoner, Megan. You never were. Now you have the freedom to choose what comes next. The offer was generous, thoughtful, everything I should want. Independence, autonomy, the chance to build a life on my own terms. So why did the prospect feel like loss rather than liberation? What do you want? I asked. That's not relevant. It is to me. He studied my face for a long moment. I want you to stay. Both of you. I want to keep having dinner together and helping Lily with her homework. I want to wake up knowing you're safe under my roof. His voice dropped. But I also want you to choose that freely. Not because you feel obligated or because you're still afraid. I'm not afraid anymore. Not of Derek, not of the Russos, not even of you. Then what are you afraid of? This. I gestured between us. Whatever this is becoming. The way Lily looks at you like you're her father. The way I've started depending on you being here. The way leaving feels impossible. Even though logically, it's the smart choice. Why is leaving the smart choice? Because you're a criminal, Julian. Because your world is dangerous. Because eventually something will happen that puts us at risk again. And I'll have to choose between your protection and Lily's safety. That's fair. He didn't look offended, just thoughtful. But consider this. Lily is safer with me than she'd be anywhere else. My world is dangerous, yes, but it's also controlled. I have resources, information networks, the ability to neutralize threats before they become critical. Can you say the same about living independently? So, I should stay because you're useful. You should stay because you want to. Because we're building something here that's real and worth protecting. His hand moved to cup my face. I'm falling in love with you, Megan. With you and Lily both. I have been since the night she showed up asking me to make someone disappear. I know that's complicated and probably unwelcome. But you asked for honesty. My breath caught. That's not fair. I know. But it's true. His thumb brushed my cheekbone. I'm not asking you to love me back. I'm just asking you to stay long enough to figure out what you actually want. Separate from fear or obligation. Before I could respond, the back door opened and Lily appeared in pajamas covered with cartoon dragons. Mom? Julian? I had a bad dream. We both turned immediately, parental instinct overriding everything else. Julian crouched down to her level. Want to tell us about it? Derek was back. He was hurting you and Mom couldn't stop him. She rubbed her eyes. But it was just a dream, right? He can't come back. Julian and I exchanged glances. This was the moment to tell her, to explain that Derek was permanently gone. Instead, Julian spoke first. He can't come back, sweetheart. I promise you that. You and your mom are safe here always. Okay. She accepted this with the simple faith of childhood. Can I sleep in Mom's room tonight? Of course, baby. I took Lily upstairs, got her settled in my bed, stroked her hair until she fell asleep. When I came back down, Julian was cleaning up the kitchen, a mundane domestic task that somehow felt more intimate than any confession of love. Thank you, I said, for not telling her about Derek yet. I need to find the right way. Take your time. There's no rush. He dried his hands, turned to face me. And Megan? Think about what I said. Not tonight, not tomorrow. But when you're ready, let me know what you decide. What if I'm never ready? What if I can't give you what you want? Then I'll accept that and be grateful for whatever you can give. He moved past me toward the stairs. Good night, Megan. I stood alone in the kitchen, surrounded by the comfortable chaos of shared meals and shared life, trying to untangle the knot of feelings in my chest, fear and attraction, gratitude and desire, the terrifying prospect of trusting someone completely after years of betrayal. Julian was right about one thing. I had choices now. Real ones. Not the desperate survival calculations I'd been making for years. I could leave, start fresh somewhere Derek and the Russos would never find me. I could stay as a guest, maintaining distance and independence. Or I could lean into this strange new family we'd built, trust that Julian's promises meant something, risk my heart on a dangerous man who'd proven himself safe. Tomorrow I'd decide. Tonight, I'd sleep next to my daughter in a house protected by guards and security systems, and a man who'd moved mountains to keep us safe. Tomorrow I'd figure out if that was love, or just a different kind of cage. 2 months passed like water through my fingers, time moving differently when you weren't constantly braced for disaster. April arrived with spring, transforming the Westchester property into something from a painting. Cherry blossoms and green lawns, and Lily's laughter echoing through rooms that had felt empty before we arrived. Lily turned 11 with a party I'd never imagined being able to give her. 20 children from St. Catherine's descended on our house for an afternoon of games and cake. Sophia orchestrated everything with practiced efficiency, while Julian grilled burgers in the backyard, completely at ease with a spatula in hand, and kids running past him screaming about treasure hunts. I watched from the kitchen window as he helped Lily's friend Emma, the shy girl with glasses, reach the monkey bars. The gentleness in his movements, the patience, reminded me that this dangerous man had depths I was still discovering. He's good with children, Sophia said beside me, following my gaze. Always has been. His father used to say Julian would make an excellent parent someday. He never mentions wanting children. Perhaps he didn't before. She squeezed my shoulder. Or perhaps he's waiting for the right time to bring it up. That evening, after the guests left and Lily crashed on the couch clutching her new books, Julian found me on the back terrace. It had become our place for difficult conversations. She had a good birthday, he said. The best she's ever had. Thank you for making it special. It wasn't just me. You planned most of it. He leaned against the railing. She's thriving here, Megan. Better than I expected. I know. Her teachers say she's advanced beyond her grade level now. She's confident, making friends, actually enjoying school. I paused. She asked me yesterday if you were going to be her dad now. Julian went very still. What did you tell her? That it's complicated. That you care about her very much. That I needed to talk to you first before making any promises. I turned to face him. She wants a father figure, Julian. She's attaching to you in ways that scare me because if this doesn't work out, if something happens and we have to leave, it'll break her heart. Then don't leave. It's not that simple. Isn't it? He moved closer. I love you. I love Lily. I want to build a life with both of you. What's complicated about that? Everything. Your world. Your work. The constant awareness that danger could return at any moment. I crossed my arms. I've spent 2 months feeling safe. But safety isn't the same as stable. What happens when the next threat emerges? When another organization decides we're useful leverage? Then I handle it the same way I handled Derek and the Russos, with overwhelming force and strategic planning. His voice was firm. Megan, threats will always exist. That's the reality of who I am. But I'm good at neutralizing them before they become critical. That's why I'm still alive. Why my organization has thrived for 15 years. And if something happens to you, if you're killed like your father was, then you and Lily would be protected by the organization I've built. Anthony knows to prioritize your safety above everything else. There are trusts established, properties in your name, resources that would activate immediately. He reached for my hand. I've planned for every contingency, because I refuse to leave you vulnerable. The level of preparation should have comforted me. Instead, it drove home how real the danger was. How seriously Julian took the possibility of his own death. I don't want resources if you're dead. I want you alive. Then say yes. Commit to this, to us. Let me give Lily the father she's asking for, and give myself the family I didn't know I wanted until you walked into my restaurant. His thumb traced circles on my palm. I'm not asking for perfection. I'm asking for a chance. Before I could answer, my phone rang. Antonio's number. I answered, confused about why the restaurant manager would call so late on a Saturday. Megan, I apologize for the interruption. His voice was strained. But we have a situation at Belante. A health inspection went very wrong this afternoon. Violations that could shut us down. Julian needs to be aware immediately. I put the phone on speaker. Julian's here. What happened? Someone filed complaints about sanitation and safety. The inspector who came was extremely thorough. Found things that, frankly, I don't believe exist. Rodent droppings in the kitchen. Expired food in the coolers. Improper storage. None of it is true. But it's all documented now. Antonio's frustration bled through. This feels orchestrated. Julian's expression darkened. Who filed the complaints? Anonymous. But the timing is suspicious. Same day, we received notice about a surprise audit from the liquor authority. He paused. Someone wants Belante shut down, Julian. This is coordinated. I'll be there in an hour. Don't touch anything. Don't clean anything. And get our lawyer on site. Julian ended the call, already moving toward the house. I need to handle this. What do you think is happening? Either the Russos are retaliating despite our agreement, or someone new is testing my boundaries. He grabbed his jacket from inside. Stay here with Lily. Security will be on high alert. Let me come with you. I manage Belante remotely now. I should be there. Megan. I'm not helpless, Julian. If someone's targeting your business, they're targeting my livelihood too. I want to see what we're dealing with. He studied my face, then nodded. Fine. But you follow my instructions exactly. If I tell you to leave, you leave. Understood? We made arrangements quickly. Sophia would stay with Lily overnight. 2 security guards would remain at the property while the rest accompanied us to Manhattan. The drive took 40 minutes. Julian making calls the entire time, assembling his team. Belante looked normal from the outside, warm lighting in the windows, the dinner service clearly still running. Inside was organized chaos. Antonio met us immediately, leading us past confused diners to the kitchen, where our head chef stood surrounded by health department officials and our lawyer. The violations were extensive and damning. Evidence bags filled with supposed contraband, photographs of unsanitary conditions, documentation that would take weeks to dispute. Julian reviewed everything with cold precision, asking pointed questions that made the lead inspector uncomfortable. "This is irregular," our lawyer said quietly. "The procedures followed, the evidence collection. It's all technically correct, but unusually aggressive. Someone with authority pushed for this. Find out who," Julian instructed. "I want names by tomorrow morning." We spent 3 hours at the restaurant, managing the crisis and planning our response. By the time we left at midnight, Belante had been served with a temporary closure notice pending investigation. Revenue lost, reputation damaged, staff worried about their jobs. In the car heading back to Westchester, Julian was silent, jaw tight with suppressed anger. I reached for his hand. "We'll fix this. This is the cost of my world, Megan. Someone always testing, always probing for weakness. Tonight it's a restaurant. Tomorrow it could be something that puts you or Lily at risk." He looked at me. "This is what you'd be signing up for. Constant vigilance, threats from unexpected directions, the knowledge that peace is temporary." "I know. And you still want this? Want me?" I thought about Lily asleep at home, dreaming about being 11 and having friends, and a man who grilled burgers at her birthday party. I thought about the past 2 months of dinners and homework help, and gradual healing from years of trauma. I thought about Julian's confession of love and my own feelings that I'd been too afraid to name. "Yes," I whispered. "I want this. I want you. Not despite the danger, but accepting it as part of the package." I squeezed his hand. "Lily deserves the father she's asking for. I deserve someone who actually protects instead of pretends. And you deserve a family that chooses you freely." He pulled the car over to the side of the road, put it in park, and kissed me like he'd been waiting years for permission. It was desperate and gentle, and full of promises neither of us could guarantee, but both wanted to try keeping. "Marry me," he said when we finally broke apart. "Not someday. Soon. Make this official. Make Lily officially mine. Build something permanent." That's insane. We've known each other less than 3 months. I knew I wanted you after 3 days. The rest has just been waiting for you to catch up. His forehead rested against mine. "Say yes, Megan. Yes." The word came easier than it should have. Commitment made in a parked car on the side of a highway at 1 a.m. But it felt right, in a way nothing had in years. Reckless and terrifying, and absolutely correct. We got married 2 weeks later at the Westchester property, with only necessary witnesses present. Sophia and Anthony stood beside us, while a Judge Julian knew performed the ceremony. Lily wore a new dress and carried flowers, beaming throughout. The whole thing took less than 20 minutes. No fuss or pageantry, just legal binding and quiet promises. That night, with Lily asleep in her room and Sophia having returned to Manhattan, Julian and I stood in our bedroom, newly married and trying to process the magnitude of what we'd done. "No regrets?" he asked. "Dozens, but none about you." He smiled, pulling me close. "Good answer." 3 months after our wedding, life settled into a rhythm I'd stopped believing was possible. Twice a week, I took night classes at the community college again, inching back toward the teaching degree I'd abandoned when Lily was born, while Lily met with the school counselor to help unravel the nightmares that still sometimes chased her out of sleep. Lily thrived as an 11-year-old with actual stability, her grades consistently excellent, her confidence growing daily. She'd started calling Julian Dad without fanfare one Tuesday morning at breakfast, and neither of us corrected her. The Belante situation resolved itself within 6 weeks. Anthony traced the orchestrated health violations back to a city official the Russos had paid before their departure. A final parting shot that backfired spectacularly. Our lawyer dismantled the case piece by piece, proving falsified evidence and procedural irregularities. The restaurant reopened with fanfare, better reviews than before, and a waiting list for reservations. I'd expanded my role beyond just managing Belante remotely. Julian now trusted me with oversight of 2 additional restaurants in his portfolio. Legitimate businesses that required actual business acumen rather than criminal connections. I discovered I was good at it, strategic thinking and problem solving coming naturally once I wasn't operating from a place of constant fear. But mostly, I'd learned what it felt like to be loved without conditions or consequences. Julian never raised his voice, never made me feel small, never used his power to control me. When we disagreed, we talked. When I needed space, he gave it. When Lily needed both of us, we presented a united front. It was everything Derek had never been, everything I'd stopped hoping to find. One Saturday morning in July, I woke to find Julian's side of the bed empty. I found him in the kitchen making pancakes while Lily sat at the counter chattering about the summer camp she'd attended that week. The scene was so domestic, so normal, that it took my breath away. "Morning," Julian said, noticing me in the doorway. "Coffee's ready." "Thanks." I poured a cup, joined Lily at the counter. "What are we talking about?" "Emma invited me to her family's lake house next weekend. Can I go, please?" Lily's eyes were bright with hope. I looked at Julian, silently communicating the question. "Is it safe?" He gave an almost imperceptible nod. "If Julian thinks the security can be arranged, then yes." "Yes!" Lily pumped her fist. "Emma's mom said we could go kayaking and there's a rope swing and everything." After breakfast, while Lily video called Emma to plan their weekend, Julian and I retreated to the back terrace with fresh coffee. The July heat was already building, but under the shade of the pergola it was pleasant. "She's happy," I said. "Really, genuinely happy. I keep waiting for something to ruin it." "Nothing's going to ruin it." Julian's arm wrapped around my shoulders. "The threats are neutralized. Derek is gone. The Russos relocated. Your life is stable. You can stop waiting for disaster." "Can I?" "Your world doesn't exactly offer guarantees." "No world offers guarantees, Megan. Regular people face random violence, accidents, illness. At least in my world, I have resources to mitigate most threats before they become critical." He turned to face me. "You're safer with me than you'd be anywhere else. Do you believe that?" I thought about the past 7 months, about every threat that had emerged and been systematically eliminated, about the layers of protection surrounding us, the intelligence networks, the deterrent of Julian's reputation, about waking up each morning without fear clenching my stomach. "Yes," I said. "I believe it." "Good." He kissed my forehead. "Because I need to tell you something, and I don't want you to panic." My stomach dropped. That's a terrible way to start a sentence. Anthony received intelligence that Dmitry Volkov died last week. Heart attack, apparently natural causes, but convenient timing. Julian's voice was measured. His organization is fragmenting. There's a succession fight in Philadelphia that's turning violent. And that affects us how? It doesn't, directly. But it means the agreement I made with Dmitry is void. His successors might not honor the terms. He squeezed my shoulder. "I'm telling you because I promised transparency, not because there's immediate danger. Anthony's monitoring the situation. If any of the competing factions show interest in New York, we'll know before they make a move. So we're back to looking over our shoulders? We're back to being cautious. There's a difference." He guided my face to look at him. "Megan, this is what I meant about threats always existing. They evolve, change form, require constant vigilance. But that's why I have Anthony, why I maintain the networks I do. So when problems emerge, we handle them before they touch you or Lily." I wanted to argue, to demand absolute safety in a world that didn't offer it. Instead, I leaned into his solid presence and accepted the truth. I'd married into a life of managed risk, trusting Julian's ability to manage it. "Okay," I said quietly. "But if anyone threatens Lily again, I'm done being the protected civilian. I'm learning to shoot." He laughed, surprised and genuine. "I can arrange that. Anthony's an excellent instructor." "I'm serious, Julian. If this is my life now, our life, then I need to be able to protect myself and Lily when you're not here." "Agreed. We'll start training next week." He kissed me properly, thorough and claiming. "You're remarkable, you know that? Most people would be demanding to leave, to hide, to run. You're asking to learn how to fight. I spent 3 years being helpless. I'm done with that." I met his eyes. "Teach me how to survive in your world. All of it." not just the safe parts. Over the following weeks, I learned to shoot. Anthony took me to a private range twice a week, patiently teaching stance, breathing, aim. The first time I hit center mass on the target, I felt a surge of fierce satisfaction. This was power I controlled, safety I could provide. Julian watched my transformation with approval and something deeper. Pride, maybe, or respect. He'd married a victim, was living with someone choosing to become a survivor. Lily noticed the changes, too. One evening, doing homework at the kitchen table while I reviewed restaurant finances, she asked, "Mom, are you and Dad teaching me self-defense because something bad is coming?" I looked at Julian, who nodded for me to handle it honestly. "We're teaching you because knowledge is power, baby. The world can be dangerous, and we want you prepared." I closed my laptop. Bad things might come someday, or they might not. But either way, you'll know how to protect yourself, like you're learning to protect us. Exactly like that. She considered this, then returned to her math homework, as if we'd discussed something as mundane as dinner plans. Resilience, I realized, wasn't about avoiding trauma. It was about processing it and choosing to keep growing anyway. By September, as Lily started 6th grade and the anniversary of that rainy November night, when she'd asked Julian to make someone disappear approached, I found myself reflecting on transformation. 1 year ago, I'd been trapped, desperate, convinced my life would never improve. Now I managed multiple restaurants, was married to a man who actually respected me, and was teaching my daughter that strength came in many forms. The cost of that transformation had been accepting moral ambiguity. Julian's world operated outside legal boundaries, solved problems through intimidation and financial leverage and occasionally violence. I'd stopped pretending that didn't bother me. It did, but I'd also stopped believing the legal system would have protected us better. The police couldn't have saved us from Derek. The courts wouldn't have stopped the Russos. Sometimes survival required gray areas. 1 year after meeting Julian Versiani, I understood that safety wasn't about eliminating all danger. It was about choosing which risks to accept and which to fight against. It was about building something worth protecting, then learning how to protect it. "What are you thinking about?" Julian asked, finding me on the back terrace one evening, watching Lily play with the neighbor's dog in our yard. About choices. About how one desperate decision changed everything. Regrets? None. I leaned into him. Lily asked me to make Derek disappear. I was too scared to do it myself. You weren't. That changed all our lives. You would have found the courage eventually. Maybe. But you gave us safety first, courage second. That matters. I turned to face him. Thank you for answering when a terrified girl showed up asking impossible questions. Thank you for trusting me with both of you. He kissed my forehead. My dangerous world and all. Your dangerous world, I agreed. Our family. Worth every risk. The end.